The US Penitentiary Administrative Maximum, also referred to as ADX Florence, the Alcatraz of the Rockies, or Supermax, is a state prison with modern super-maximum security that is situated close to Florence, Colorado, in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. The ADX Supermax facility, which opened its doors in 1994, was built to house and segregate offenders who were thought to be too dangerous for the typical jail system. So, in today's video, let's dive inside the USA's toughest prison, ADX Florence. Welcome to True Crime. Let's get started. Why Supermax prisons exist. ADX Florence was established in response to major incidents that occurred at other federal prisons. As a result of such ruthless prisoner attacks, higher security jails became necessary. ADX Florence has housed some of the most notorious and deadly criminals in the country. The prison houses criminal leaders from a number of violent gangs, as well as domestic and foreign terrorists from major organizations like Al-Qaeda. ADX Florence is now home to Zacarias Moussaoui, the only person found responsible for the 11-on-9 terrorist attacks in a civilian court. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, who was partially responsible for the Boston Marathon bombings, was transferred to this prison in July 2015. Other noteworthy offenders who reside there include Olympic Park bomber Eric Rudolph, Oklahoma City bombing accomplice Terry Nichols, shoe bomber Richard Reed, Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, and Soviet spy Robert Hansen. Overall, ADX Florence houses all sorts of dangerous criminals in one of the most secure environments. Life inside ADX Florence. According to Ryder, experts have recognized since the 1960s and 1970s that solitary confinement and sensory deprivation have immediate and long-term impacts on inmates' minds and bodies, as evidenced by the experiences of American POWs in Vietnam. For ADX prisoners, their only regular contact with other human beings is the brief interactions with guards who bring them meals and escort them to the yard. According to a 2014 Amnesty International study, inmates in the ADX routinely go days with only a few words spoken to them. Long-term solitary confinement can result in depression, anxiety, hallucinations, and psychotic breaks. It's just the harshest place you've ever seen. Nothing living, not so much as a blade of grass anywhere, Travis Dusenberry stated in a Marshall Project interview. He was released from ADX after serving 10 years there for attacking a guard at a different facility. Inmate cells. Prisoners are confined alone in their cells for at least 20 or even up to 24 hours every day, depending on the unit they are in. The 7 by 12-foot cells have solid walls that keep inmates from directly interacting with other inmates or from seeing the inside of other cells. The doors of every ADX cell are made of solid steel and feature a tiny slot. Cells in all units also have an interior barred wall with a sliding door, which together with the exterior door forms a sally port in each cell. Every cell is equipped with a stainless steel combined sink and toilet, as well as a modular concrete bed, desk, and stool. Also, cells in all units include a shower with an automatic shut-off valve. The concrete of the beds is covered with blankets and a thin mattress. A single window, about 42 inches tall and 4 inches wide, is present in each cell to let in some natural light, but it's designed to prevent inmates from seeing anything outside of their cells except the sky and the building. In addition, guards deliver meals 3 times every day. With few exceptions, convicts in most ADX Supermax prisons are only permitted to leave their cells for limited social or legal visits, some kinds of medical treatment, visits to the law library, and a few hours of indoor or outdoor recreation per week. With the possible exception of Range 13, the control unit is the most secure and isolated unit currently in use at ADX. Prisoners in the control unit are kept apart from the rest of the inmates at all times, sometimes 6 years or even longer. Their only meaningful contact with humans is with ADX employees. Every month, there are monthly assessments that are made to ensure control unit prisoners follow the rules of the institution. If a prisoner has good behavior over the full month, he will receive credit for serving a month of his control unit time. Facilities in ADX Florence Prison. SF Gate claims that ADX Florence is the only jail created with the express purpose of keeping all of its inmates in near-total solitary confinement. The facility, which occupies 21 acres, houses violent male inmates who need strict security. With a maximum capacity of 490 inmates, the jail now houses 344 convicts overall. Prisoners are not permitted to interact with other inmates at any point during the minimum of the first 3 years they spend at this facility. Good behavior over time can win prisoners additional outside time, and the most fortunate may even be eligible for a possible transfer back to a less secure prison. Known as the concrete pit or empty swimming pool, the outside time is actually a bigger cell with vaulted ceilings. Security. The entire ADX Florence prison is equipped with 1,400 remotely operated steel doors, multiple cameras, and motion detectors. Jail officials who work in the control center keep an eye on the prisoners around the clock. In the event that an escape attempt is made, they can use a panic button to shut all of the doors in the jail. The premise is guarded by heavily armed officers and is surrounded by 12-foot-tall razor wire fences and pressure pads. As an added level of security, laser beams and attack dogs guard the area surrounding the prison's outlying fences. San Quentin Prison. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation is in charge of the maximum security male state prison known as San Quentin State Prison. It is located north of San Francisco in the San Quentin, California community, with a view of San Francisco Bay. San Quentin State Prison is the oldest prison in the state of California, and it was built in July 1852. All executions in the state take place in this, so this is the biggest death row facility in the state. San Quentin State Prison has also been the site of 3 federal executions. It has the state's only gas chamber and death row for male inmates, although it has not carried out any executions since 2006. Chilling history. San Quentin Prison, with its dark and chilling history, stands as a testament to the ruthlessness that exists within its walls. The jail became one of the most notorious maximum security facilities in the US. At San Quentin, the first execution ever occurred in 1893, when Jose Gabriel, a murderer, was hanged. This method of execution was used for many decades, but as time passed, people started to doubt the humanity and morality of hanging as a kind of punishment. So, San Quentin adopted more contemporary means of execution in the mid-20th century. The gas chamber became the new instrument of death. This method was believed to be more humane, but it still carried with it an air of horror and finality. However, over time, the gas chamber form of execution became less common, and lethal injection arose as an alternative. This technique, which was first used in the late 20th century, granted individuals an execution that was peaceful with no pain. San Quentin became one of the first prisons in California to adopt this method. Life inside San Quentin Prison. The prison's facilities were not designed for the large number of convicts it currently accommodates. The prison's gymnasium, which was formerly used for exercise and leisure, has been converted into a temporary dormitory in order to house the influx of prisoners. Over 300 beds are crammed into this space, leaving little room for personal space or privacy. The jail finds it difficult to maintain cleanliness because there are so many inmates lodged in a small area. Inmates are required to adhere to strict rules based on the facility. To mitigate the risks associated with overcrowding and racial tensions, the prison staff must constantly rearrange inmates, attempting to separate those who may pose a threat to one another. Prisoners are never sure who they will be imprisoned with or what threats they may face. Thereby, they remain in a state of constant uncertainty. Death row. Within the walls of San Quentin Prison, a separate and haunting world exists for those condemned to death row. Currently, San Quentin is home to over 300 prisoners who are awaiting execution. Some death row inmates have been there for decades, living in constant fear and uncertainty. Prisoners have access to a bed, a toilet, and a sink in their small cells. However, these comforts are meager in comparison to the weight of their impending fate. Death row inmates endure a great deal of solitude. They are separated from the outside world and kept in their cells for much of the day, with little chance of social contact. Finally, the experiences and circumstances of death row inmates at San Quentin Prison are highlighted by loneliness, unpredictability, and the weight of imminent death. San Quentin serves as a terrifying reminder of the criminal justice system's enormous effect it has on the lives of those who are sentenced to death. Now, it's time to conclude this video. Our thoughts and prayers go out to those involved. We hope you enjoyed our true crime overview of the toughest prisons in the US. Be sure to be a true crime subscriber and hit the bell icon to never miss another true crime video. Leave a comment and a like to show your support. Until next time, stay safe, and if you have a true crime story you would love to see, please be sure to leave in the comments below. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.